This week, if you watch television any at all, you undoubtedly saw of an event or a tragic situation that occurred out in California where comedian Robin Williams passed away as a result of suicide. And me and my wife, we were watching the news the other night, and right at the end of the telecast, the guy just came across, said it's late breaking news, and he announced it of the death of this very talented man, a man that made people laugh, a man that was a good actor as far as, starred in all kinds of movies, and in the eyes of this world, had it all. And from just outward appearance to look at him, he starred. They rattled off movie after movie after movie after movie that he had starred in, that he had been a part in, and then they began to talk about the issues that he had. They talked about how he battled depression, addiction. And I began to think just a little bit. Some of you may have seen, I got that on my mind, and I began to think about a song that we called Third Day Sings called Cry Out to Jesus. And I got on my mind, I pulled it up off YouTube, and I said, I got to post this. Because this song absolutely goes to the source. And I began to think just a little bit. People begin to give their opinions of this and that and all kinds of things and comments and some controversial and some not. This or that about this and why did it and battling this. I know depression is real. I know it is. And it affects many, many people. It affects Christians. That's a vice of the devil. And he uses that and he sends that to people's way. How do I know? I've dealt with it. I've been there, dealt with it. And I know what it is. And I began to think just a little bit about that song, and it began to give all the different situations, the different people. And it all come back to this, cry out to Jesus. And I thought to myself, if only Robin Williams had cried out to Jesus. If only he had cried out to Jesus instead of going into his house in another room and taking his life. Because obviously he got to the point of depression and things that had gotten to him, and he got the idea that this is the only way out. This is the only way. I'd like for you to turn to the book of Luke, chapter 18. Book of Luke. And I want to read just a little bit about a man that cried out to Jesus. A man that came and he found healing. Chapter 18 of the book of Luke, verse 35 says this. And it came to pass that as he was come nigh unto Jericho, a certain blind man sat by the wayside begging. And hearing the multitude pass by, he asked what it meant. And they told him that Jesus of Nazareth passeth by. And he cried, saying, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And they which went before rebuked him, that he should hold his peace, but he cried so much the more, Thou son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stood and commanded him to be brought unto him. And when he was come near, he asked him, saying, What wilt thou that I shall do unto thee? And he said, Lord, that I may receive my sight. And Jesus said unto him, Receive thy sight, thy faith hath saved thee. And immediately he received his sight and followed him, glorifying God. And all the people, when they saw it, gave praise unto God. This man, who was a beggar that was in need of something, absolutely was in need of something that could not be provided by this world, by the physicians of that day, by the folks that he was associated with. They could not provide him what he needed. He was a beggar that sat by the road, but he knew something was transpiring around him. He knew that something was happening, and he inquired, and they said, hey, Jesus was passing by, and he spoke out and he cried out to Jesus. He said, thou son of David, will you come to me? And you know, the people began to say, hey, hush your mouth here. We don't need you doing this. Don't call upon him. Don't make a big scene. Don't begin to holler and draw attention to yourself. But he knew there was a source that was coming by. He knew there was a source that was going to take care of the situation. He realized that there was power that was passing by, and all he had to do was cry out to Jesus. If only Robin Williams would have cried out to Jesus. If only he would have called upon him and turned his situation over to him. You know, I've heard all kinds of people, and they would say, they were trying to explain and trying to reason with why he was depressed and why he was going through these things, and they begin to talk about his financial situation and how he was in, he felt that he was in a decline in his finances, and he was in trouble, and that really bore on him. Once again, things that are temporary of this life. And I began to think, I said, how in the world did a man that had made all of these movies, they said, there's 4 movies that he's in that's not even been released yet. That's still to come, that he's completed. But yet he was distraught over his money. He was distraught over addiction, over the bottle, over cocaine that he had problems with, that was a demon that consumed him, that spoke to him, that called his name. And the only way that he can overcome that was through Jesus Christ. The only possible way to overcome it. You know, I've said this many times. You've heard me say this, and I know that there's good programs, and there's good facilities, and there's places where people help, and they support, and they give them all of that advice in the world that they can to help them overcome substance, whatever it is, whatever nature it is, if it's pills, if it's narcotics, whatever, if it's alcohol. But when it really gets down to it, to the bottom line, let me tell you what. Without Jesus involved in the plan, leading the way, it'll never truly be successful.
That's right. Amen.
Never. It never will. And Robin had battled things. They said, recently he'd gone back into rehab, and he'd gone and was seeking help and all this stuff. But you know what? He went to the wrong source. Yep. Cry out to Jesus. Cry out to Jesus. As this beggar who was by the road said, oh, son of David, have mercy on me. Because he realized there was no other source that would help him, that would deliver him from the bondage of being without sight. Being without sight. You know, I can't imagine not being able to see. Think about that. You know, as I get older, my once 20/20 vision is gone. You know, when it gets to where I know there's a wristwatch there, but I can't tell you what time it is. I can try to get it in the zone. Find the sweet spot, if you will. Longer arms, Lord, give me longer arms. Get that spot for a big old watch. A bigger watch, 1 or 2.